वेलकम टू प्रिंस शॉर्ट एंड हाउस। हमारे यूट्यूब चैनल प्रिंस शॉर्ट एंड हाउस पर हम आपको डेली डिक्टेशन दे रहे हैं। स्पेशल 140 वर्ड्स में उन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए जो पार्लियामेंट रिपोर्टर की स्किल की तैयारी अभी कर रहे हैं। आज एक्सरसाइज नंबर 53 एंड 54 सर कैलाश चंद्रा 140 वर्ड्स a minute. Ready? Start. Mr. Chairman, sir, yesterday the Honorable Minister and today the Chairman of the Select Committee have fully explained the various clauses of the bill and certain important changes that have been effected by the Select Committee. I propose to confine myself to two or three important features of the bill which require re-examination and close attention by the government. Sir, I need hardly emphasize the important role which the electricity supply undertakings play in the national economy of the country. Indeed, the development in other spheres depends upon the full development of the supply of power, and this bill is of vital importance affecting as it does not develop of electric supply undertakings in the country. I am focusing attention on the role that the private electricity undertakings are playing in the supply of electric power with a view to drawing the attention of government to the difficulties that are bound to be faced by these electricity undertakings in one or two directions. In this connection, I would not therefore like to take much of the time of the House, but I would like to draw the attention of the Honorable Minister to what my Honorable friend Shri Tulsi Das has stated and with whose comments I am in full agreement. As a matter of fact, the approach of the government to the bill is to fulfill three basic considerations so vital for the healthy growth of this industry. Firstly, that its proper control and regulation is but necessary. I fully agree that this is subject to certain differences on basis aspect, but the important consideration governing this bill is to attempt at providing suitable incentives to the industry which alone can enable it to increase its capacity to the desired extent. Therefore, I would like to refer to the incentives it provided in the bill and to the need for liberalizing the clauses in respect of the fair return to the investors in these undertakings. I would like to draw the attention of the Honorable Minister to the fact that since the passing of the original act in 1948, only 8 states throughout the country have constituted the statutory electricity boards. Among these states are Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Rajasthan, Punjab, Odisha and Maharashtra, and therefore we find that many of the states have still to constitute this electricity boards. I would like to know from the Honorable Minister why in the matter of the constitution of electricity boards many of the states have not implemented the provisions of the bill and what the central government have done to ensure that these electricity boards are constituted in all the states as desired in the provisions of the original act. Perhaps it may have been the problem of taxation which some of the states may have in view while not proceeding with the constitution of the electricity boards, but whatever might be the reason and even as far as this question of taxation is concerned, the central government may have to lay down some sort of subvention or such other assistance as is found necessary. I think that this matter of the constitution of the electricity boards throughout all the states is of vital importance and should be looked into by the central government to ensure that necessary steps are taken in the remaining states for the constitution of these boards. I would now like to say something about the deferred taxation reserve, about which the Honorable Minister yesterday said that the amendment regarding this has been brought forward at the instance of the Federation of Electricity Undertakings. The whole complication arises due to the fact that the provisions of the Income Tax Act and the provisions of the Electricity Supply Act are contradictory to each other. While the income tax act with an accelerated depreciation in earlier years results in larger tax relief in the earlier period, and thereby the tax liability of the undertakings is deferred for a future period. The Electricity Supply Act restricts the provision of depreciation to a much lesser degree, and to that extent the profits of the electricity undertakings in regard to the income tax development and depreciation rates are restricted. That act lays down a smaller depreciation as compared to what is allowed under the Indian Income Tax Act. What has now been done has been put with certain restrictions that it does not really solve the demand that was put forward by the Federation. As a matter of fact, if the electricity undertaking should have been allowed to set aside that reserve for taxation liability for future years out of the profits which they earn year by year out of the rate increase which they have put into force from time to time, that would have met the needs of the situation, but the clauses as it has emerged would rather create more difficulties than solve them, and it has therefore been further presented to the ministry by the Federation of Electricity Undertakings. Next para. Mr. Chairman, the discussion on the resolution put forward by Mr. Sena and the substitute motion put forward by Mr. Das has turned out to be a discussion in the nature of a general discussion of the budget of the All India Radio. I do not want to go into the considerations which have been put forward, but I want to say one thing about the substitute motion that has been put forward by Mr. Das. I think in India we are developing a passion for having committees and commissions. We want to commit want a committee or a commission for every blessed thing that there is in India. I think there are millions and millions of things in India. I would say that before we think of having any other commission or committee appointed, we should first of all read the reports of those committees and commissions which are before us, digest them and take action on them, and then think of doing something else. For instance, what is the record of the Ministry of Broadcasting in the matter of the Film Inquiry Committee report? They have now the Press Commission's report. The two bodies have been set up by this ministry. What action has been taken on the report of the Film Inquiry Committee, and what action is going to be taken on the report of the Press Commission? I think that the Press Commission's report may be thrown into cold storage. We will not allow it to be thrown into cold storage. I know what has happened to the report of the Film Inquiry Committee. Therefore, I say that this passion for committees and commissions should be curbed, and we should not run away with the idea that the commissions will provide the panacea for all our ills, and that a committee will cure all our difficulties and troubles. Therefore, I think it is no use appointing a commission at this stage to go into the question of broadcasting. There is another thing. My friend has been asking for the appointment of a corporation. I am a member of the Lok Sabha, and if you ask me to be a party to the appointment of a corporation, it would be tantamount to this, that I abrogate almost all my responsibilities and privileges as a member of the Lok Sabha. I was saying that the need is for direct control. The control should not be slackened for a minute. Unless it is done, I am sure the lines on which these persons wanted the radio to develop will not be possible. Why I say that there should be perpetual vigilance on the part of Parliament is for this reason. If there is corporation, my honorable friend, the Minister of Information and Broadcasting will be the most happy person. He will have all the privileges which he is having now, and he will not have the necessity of coming before us to give answers to our questions and to submit to us report. He will have all the privilege and very little responsibility for that. I say that the control which the Parliament exercises over the All India Radio at the time of the budget is sufficient to make these people wake up. It is sufficient to make these people active who are slack. It is sufficient for those people who practice nepotism to be fair, and if there is a corporation, the whole thing will go away and we shall not have any control over the All India Radio. Now we have control over appointments through the Public Service Commission, and if we have a corporation, I do not think you will have that control. We have control over the All India Radio on account of the Public Accounts Committee and the Estimates Committee. My friends have said that the Estimates Committee has suggested 92 improvements to be made in the All India Radio. I think that shows how effectively and how comprehensively the work has been done. When work of that kind is being done by the Estimates Committee and the Public Accounts Committee, and when the whole thing comes before the House, I do not see why we should have a corporation of this kind. We in India in this transitional era are suffering from self-contradictory impulses. On the one hand, I see on the floor of this house something being said that we should not take this country or that country as our model, and on the other hand, a gentleman wants to follow the BBC model or some other model. That is a self-contradictory impulse. Somewhere in the 2004 issue of this quarterly, I find an article not eulogizing the corporation, but an article on the subject of the ills of the British Broadcasting Corporation. The gentleman has gone into the question and given us the reason for that and also the remedies for that. I would therefore say that we do not need a corporation. Stop.